Hey YouTube, this is Jaden Storm coming at you, and I am going to be talking about a couple of things in this video that I think are bad cardfight Vanguard habits that some players get. And we're all guilty of these from time to time. I'm not saying I've never done them, because I know I have. I'll sometimes watch my matches and think to myself, God damn, Jaden, why did you do that? You know, these are just things that you need to watch out for because they can either A, cost you major advantage, which can lead you to losing the game just because you messed up, or B, it could cause you literally just to lose so much. Well, same thing. Pretty much the long and the short of it is if you fall fate to one of these things, it can lead you to losing the game, and you can slap whatever other kind of tag on it you want. But so here what they are. I got 5 here for you. They're in no particular order. I'm going to say what it is, and then don't immediately just go, what do you mean? I'm going to explain. So, first is overguarding. Guys, there are times when we all overguard. Now, you may sometimes have to do this. Say your opponent is swinging for 13 at a rear guard, and your rear guard is at 9k. This is just an example. And you guard for 10k. So that's 19 to 13. Well, guys, if you had a 5k in your hand, you could have guarded for 14 instead of 19, and then it still would have been safe. But what you might have been thinking is, well, I only have one 5k in my hand, but that is going to be, I want to save this for my Vanguard booster for next turn, and I don't want to lose it, so I'll use this instead. At least then there's a reason. But sometimes by overguarding, you lose your 10k shields in the early game when you'll want them in the late game. Because when your opponent comes for their big Breakride or their big skill that adds a lot of power to their Vanguard, you're going to want either have a couple of 10Ks in your hand to make it easier to guard, or you're going to want to have that perfect guard in your hand. And if you don't have your perfect guard and you used a lot of your 10Ks in early game, you can find yourself having to almost say no guard and hope and pray they either don't hit triggers, which sometimes is not always the best option, or having to pray for that miracle heal trigger, and that doesn't come all the time. So that is just, so the next time you're guarding an attack, think about exactly how much they're swinging for and how much you need to stop it. This is something I think a lot of players just, oh, he's swinging for 15, I'm at 9, or I'm at 11, just guard for 10, pat, there you go, now it doesn't work. Next time, just think, okay, I'm at 11, he's at 15, this is how much I need to stop. Do I have a 5k I'm willing to lose? Just think to yourself like this. Don't just throw cards out there to guard attacks. I see players at my locals all the time. They go so fast, and they choose their attack targets and their drive checks and their guards, and they just go so fast that they just make so many errors. And I hate seeing players go so fast. Do not feel in any game that you have to go fast. Go slow. Take your time. And I'm not saying take 20 minutes to think out every move, because then you're just going to piss off your opponent. But don't feel that you have to get through your turn in 20 seconds. Take your time. So there you go. First one is overguarding. Number 2 is bad player communication. Now, by this I mean, if you do not know how much your opponent is swinging at you, ask them. Sometimes your opponent will say 26 to rear guard, 26 to vanguard. If they don't, then they assume that you know what it is. But if you don't know what it is, ask them, or ask them what they're doing. If they play a card and all of a sudden, and they don't bother explaining it because they think you already know it, then ask, what does that card do? Or if I'm understanding this skill right, is this how it works? There was a situation a couple of times ago where someone to me, I was playing, and they thought Dragonic Descendant had to hit for him to restand, and then when they perfect guarded the attack, they got mad when I told them no, it's when he doesn't hit. They got mad at me, and it's like, well, you should have asked. It's not my responsibility before every attack to say, okay, if you do not let him hit, he's going to restand, or I have the option to restand him. So you need to make sure you either A, know what every card does and what your opponent's doing, and if not, ask. And if you don't ask, then don't be mad that you got caught on the bad end of the stick because you didn't ask. It's just not fair to you. Well, actually, it's not fair to your opponent. So the next time you see a card and you're not 100% sure, like if you wouldn't gamble $10,000 and you know that's what that card does, just ask. There's no harm in asking. And chances are your opponent is not going to look at you and go, "What are you, dumbass? You don't know what this does?" He'll probably just say, "If it doesn't hit." So next time, if you don't know what the card does, please just ask. This will make you a much better player just for asking, because you'll not only gain knowledge, you'll be able to just store that up there and you'll never forget it. Okay, 3. Going balls deep when the risk is too great. Guys, I remember seeing this a lot with people that wanted to play the Phantom Blaster Overlord deck. Now, I have nothing against Phantom Blaster Overlord. I love the card. I love the deck. Guys, I still have the deck put together, but it won't stay together for much longer because Revengers are finally coming. But don't use big skills or big sacrifices when your opponent has 15 cards in their hand, because chances are they're going to have something to just stop it. And when you do something like that, chances are they're just going to drop a perfect guard, and then you're going to be losing either a card from your hand and 3 counterblasts, or 3 rear guards, or you're going to be giving up cards from your hand. It's just not worth it, guys. So when you do make those big plays and those big risks, at least make sure that there's a good chance of it working for you. Now, there are cards that that are out now, that are a couple, and there are more coming out in the future that make these big risks better to take, because if that doesn't work, you have another option. But I do ask that every single time before you take one of those big moves, think to yourself, is this going to benefit you, or will you gain something out of it? Like, there was one time I went for Dragonic Descendant's ability, and my opponent perfect guarded the first attack. I was happy. It's like, great, he'll stand up for the second attack. And they perfect guarded the second attack. You know what? That's perfect. You did exactly what I wanted you to. You dropped 2 perfect guards to stop 1 round of attacks. Chances are you're not going to have 2 more perfects in your hand for next turn, and if you do, the turn after that, you're dead. So just keep in mind these things that if you do not do normally, next time before you take a big risk, look at your opponent's field, look at their hand, look at their damage zone, just kind of look around and see, okay, is this a smart risk? Because a lot of the times when you rush into a risk like that, it's what costs you the game, and later you're just mad at yourself because you made a stupid decision. Number 4, not guarding smart. Now, by what I mean by this is it's not the same as overguarding. By not guarding smart, I'm talking about, okay, say your opponent swings at you with Salome off a Breakride, and they're at 29,003 crit. It probably wouldn't be smart for you to guard for 30k 1 to pass, because chances are if you get hit for 3 damage at that point of the game, you're going to lose. Now, if you have to guard the attack and that's all you can put up, it's better than just saying, okay, fine, hit me. But if there's something else you can do, it's better to go ahead and err on the safe side than just put it as bare as you possibly can, because your opponent has a pretty good chance of hitting 1 trigger about every other turn. So it's really not smart to take those risks. It's very rare that you're not going to see a trigger every other turn, or at the least every other 3 turns. So you just need to keep that in mind. Because if you're guarding these humongous attacks with just barely enough, and your opponent, all they need to do is hit 1 trigger, all you're doing is setting yourself up for inevitable defeat and just a lot of anger that you just don't need. So when you do guard smart. If it's a high attack and you have a perfect guard, don't waste 3-4 cards just to have it ripped apart with 1 trigger. Just drop the perfect guard and move on. And then for my 5th, if my phone will unlock, and then my 5th is bad Breakriding. Guys, I am so sick and tired of people just so happy that Breakrides are here. Guys, I love Breakrides. I'm so glad they're here. They give you so much advantage, and there are so many different ones that do so many good things for your clans. But I'm tired of seeing people use Breakrides bad. I have seen people Breakride Gancelot when there's only 1 rear guard to boost. That's not the smart way to do it. I've seen people use Dragonic Overlords Breakride with Dauntless when they have no other cards on the field. It's things like that that's not going to give you a lot, because okay, go back to the Draconic Overlord thing. If all you have is Dauntless and a boost, and you Breakride into the end, and you attack with the end, their chances are they're going to lay down at least 25,000 points of shield to guard against that, and then they'll perfect guard the second attack, and then next turn you'll have already dropped 3 cards, and you've gotten 2 of them back, but you're going to be out of cards, you're not going to have any intercepts, and you're going to have to guard probably 3 very big attacks. So it just doesn't do you any good. Ganslot, when you break right onto him, you select 3 rear guards and give him 5k. If you only have 1 rear guard, it's not going to do you any good because you're going to be basically giving up 2 free 5k boosts that you would have gotten. So the better thing to do is instead of maybe break riding that Ganslot on top of a Ganslot just to get another 10,000 power and to give 5,000 power to 1 rear guard, maybe you should call that Ganslot to a rear guard circle and start getting more attacks. You know, there's always a better option. So before you break ride, ask yourself, is this something that's going to benefit me? Am I going to get a lot of advantage out of it? Is it going to at least have a chance of doing something good for me to maybe make my opponent get closer and closer to losing? Or is this something I'm doing just because I like break riding and saying, I break ride? You know, so there's a lot of thought process you need to go into before you do break rides, because keep in mind, guys, a lot of the newer break rides that are going to start coming out in set 12, they require costs. Like Morbid Phantom, he requires a counterblast, and there are other things that just are going to require other costs down the road. So you just need to, like the reverse units, if you're planning on playing any of those. So you just need to keep in mind that there is a lot of things that go into it. You do not want to rush into a break ride just because you can. So the next time that you guys play in a card fight match, I want you to think about these 5 things and just go, you know what, I may not want to do this, you know, because I think these are the 5 worst things I see in players, which is overguarding, bad player communication, going balls deep when the risk is just too great, not guarding smart, and bad break riding skills. So next time you play, just kind of watch for these 5 bad habits in your game and see if maybe you fall victim to it a time or two, because I know I have, and maybe I mean, I know I have done some bad moves in my day in Vanguard, and I know we're all going to make bad moves at some point, but if you can prevent them, you want to. So the next time you play, just kind of watch out for these 5 things and make sure that you don't do it. So anyway, guys, I hope these helped. If these did help you, please let me know. I like to hear from you guys that it is helping you somewhat. If there's another bad card fight Vanguard habit you think of, feel free to put it in the comment section below and share it with everybody else. Share it with me. Maybe it's one I didn't think of. I thought of a couple others, but I felt these were the best ones that I should share with you. So feel free to put another feel free to put another bad card fight Vanguard habit in the comment section below and share it with the other people. So thanks for watching, guys. Comment, rate, subscribe, thumbs up this video for me, and I will see you all later.